good to see everybody right here for more 5 Outdoors. We're joined by our friend Trey Reed from the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. We've had the first segment of duck season in Arkansas. Trey, by all accounts, it seems like it was pretty normal.
Typical, normal, whatever you want to use adjective there to describe it. Yeah, Scott, it was. I mean, we had some pretty nice cold fronts earlier in the fall, like, in October and early November. And, I think a lot of people were thinking as a result of that, our bird numbers might build up. We have those Halloween mallards we've talked about, those birds that are, for whatever reason, kind of hardwired to leave the northern U.S. and Canadian prairies and, come to Arkansas. I mean, this is kind of the bottom of the migratory funnel for them. But we don't see our bigger numbers of bird, and our aerial surveys bear this out. They don't really start to build until usually mid-December and into January. And this is when we host the largest number of ducks in our part of the Mississippi Flyway. However, I think anecdotally from what I heard, the early part of the season, like, it was pretty typical in that there weren't that many birds. If you had some managed water, in a rice field or something like that, you might have done a little bit better. Some of our WMAs, like that are in moist soil that have water, holding some birds. The game and fish forested wetlands and our green tree reservoirs, not as much. We did get some rain right there. We close our structures on our, and it varies by part of the state, but November 15th is the earliest date when we begin intentionally holding water. So we don't know. Of course, the season started the 22nd this year, and we got a little bit of rain right after that. So some of those picked up some water. We need some additional rainfall. One kind of misconception out there, Scott, is that our season dates don't necessarily, especially for our first segment of the season, don't align perfectly with kind of that management that we're doing to protect the red oak component of those bottomland hardwood forests that we're talking about in our forested wetlands. And so people are like, well, can't you just start pumping when you need to? Well, most of our areas are, especially our forested wetlands, we really don't have the ability to pump. In some cases, you can use a relift, but most of these are rainfall dependent. So you're waiting on rivers to rise or, rainfall to run out of a watershed and into a basin where we can begin to capture it and hold some of it for hunting opportunity. So that's kind of what we've been doing through this first segment of duck season. Of course, the season ended December 1st, and we reopened on December 10th. So Wednesday it opens back up. And beyond the water that we've picked up, Scott, I really am excited about these colder temperatures. We've had some pretty significant cold weather, some snow cover even to our north, and I think that's going to make a difference. And taking a little bit of pressure off the birds for 8 or 9 days here during this first split. I'm optimistic about what our second segment, December 10th through 23rd, holds for us.
Optimistic and hopeful. When I look at the medium range data, though, in the weather forecast, it doesn't look super promising for those of us that still need a little bit more rain. I think for the next 10 or so days, we're largely going to be dry out there, but fingers crossed that maybe something changes. It is the split, but a good reminder from you is, while it is the split, it's still time to be applying for some of those special permits, right?
Right. Yeah. The way our wildlife management area, like draw units, as well as the private land W rice permits work, you apply every Thursday from 3 p.m. until Sunday at midnight, and you're applying for the following week. So that's anywhere from 6 to 10 days ahead of the actual hunt. So it's easy to, like, here during the split, like, well, there's no hunting, so there's nothing to apply for, but there is. So, like, if you want to hunt the weekend of December 13th, 14th, for instance, on one of our WMAs that has, permit only access, or one of those W rice private land rice fields, you need to be applying now. I mean, you've got until December 6th at midnight, so Sunday night at midnight for the 13th and 14th, and then the cycle starts over again. So, don't forget about that. And these are some really cool opportunities. Scott, I know you've taken advantage of that Frog Bio WMA, draw area last season. And we're pretty successul, as I recall. Maybe you didn't want me to mention that here.
Giving away all my secrets. You're giving away all my good secrets, man.
No, but as well as anyone, I mean, these are some really cool opportunities on our WMAs because you have, like, that spot to yourself. It's not just like, I mean, look, and hunters are pretty good about sharing areas, but one of the stories we hear consistently from hunters, especially in those forested wetlands, is like, hey, somebody's hunting too close to me, or competition for the quote unquote best spots. But this way you're basically, you do have to draw. You got to be lucky, but you're locking down a spot. And the same thing with these W rice permits, man. You get a private, well managed rice field that where these farmers have done things that Arkansas Game and Fish has asked them to do, as far as post harvest manipulation and flooding, or holding water on those rice fields. And you get the thing for the whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Most of them have blinds, and so you just show up and you can hunt the afternoon if you want. You want to get a later start, you want to get out there early, all of the above, man. It's yours for the weekend. You can take friends along with you, up to 4 total participants in those hunts. So pretty cool opportunities, and I hope folks will take advantage of that by applying at agfc.com. Just go to the special hunt permits section when you go into the licensing, buy a license portal there on agfc.com or through the AGFC app.
I had a good memorable hunt last year on one of those W rice fields not too far from here. Those are really cool opportunities. I can't afford a private hole, but you know what? I can't afford that $5 application fee, and by the luck of the draw last year, I was able to hunt on one of those. Speaking of that, you have something very similar. Really, it's the same thing, but for a different type of bird. Let's talk about some of these new quail opportunities you've got.
Yeah, Scott, last year was our first year to offer these. And so this will be the second season, still a relatively new opportunity for Arkansas bird hunters. But 2 special hunts at Stone Prairie Wildlife Management Area, which is between Mayflower and Conway and Valonia in central Arkansas, and a little bio WMA in southeastern Arkansas, not too far from Dermot. Pretty good haul, right, from the River Valley or the Northwest Arkansas. But it may be worth the drive. Look, these hunts, Scott, are for a permitted quail hunt. We're looking at some video now of a quail hunt I went on earlier this week on another public land, Gulf Mountain Wildlife Management Area in sort of north central Arkansas, southern Ozark. But all of these hunts, really what they represent, Scott, is the fruits of some pretty intense labor over the last decade or more. The Arkansas Game and Fish Commission back around, 2014, 2015 announced they wanted to get pretty serious about quail habitat and trying to bring back northern bobwhite populations. They're a species imperiled, not just in Arkansas, but across the southeastern U.S. And, we still have quail seasons, but we just don't have the numbers like we had in the 50s and 60s, mid 20th century. We had a lot of small farms and grown over fence rows, which is good quail habitat. And, as we've, planted fescue in some of our pastures and some, non-native grasses like that, and cleaned up farming kind of in general, we have lost a lot of that habitat. There's a lot of predators out there as well. But, look, the thing is, if you fix the habitat, it's the old, a field of dreams analogy. If you build it, they will come. And we have seen a fantastic response in a lot of areas, but especially these 2 wildlife management areas where we're having this special permit hunt have really responded to the habitat work we've done there. And we have got good huntable quail populations, not enough that, like, if everybody that's a bird hunter in Arkansas showed up on the same day, they're smaller areas. So the way we're managing quail hunting on these smaller areas, Little Bayou and Stone Prairie, is to have this permit hunt. And look, again, like those WMA or W rice permits for waterfowl, you get the place to yourself. I mean, you can take up to 3 other participants with you. You can take an additional participant, like a dog handler, if they're not going to be shooting and carrying a gun. So take some other folks with you. 2 of the of your party of 3 plus you must be youth under the age of 16. You don't have to take youth, but you can only take 1 other adult hunter or 16 and older hunter. So keep that in mind. Look, man, our quail biologist, Clint Johnson, is a quail hunter himself. He's got a German short hair pointer. We saw him saw her, Ziggy, in that clip a little while ago. And Clint is more than willing. Like, if you want to apply for one of these and you don't have a bird dog, look, you're going to increase your chances if you take a bird dog. He will be happy to try to connect you with someone that would come along just to handle the dog there. There's Clint in the front there and Ziggy running along. So, man, I got to tell you, Scott, beyond talking about these permit opportunities, this footage that was just shot earlier this week, it was a really special kind of day for me. I've been at Arkansas Game and Fish a little over 19 years. First opportunity that I've had to video and hunt quail on public land. And again, it's a testament to the work that the conservation work and the habitat work that's gone on for a number of years. And, that's the kind of frustrating perhaps thing about conservation is like we're doing work now that we're a lot of times not going to, we're not going to bear the fruits of that labor for many years in some cases. So just now within 10, 12 years or so of really putting a focus on quail habitat work in Arkansas, we're seeing some results. Now, look, I don't want to create any false perceptions or expectations. We're probably never going to get back to where we were mid 20th century, right? There's too many changes that have happened across Arkansas to the landscape and the way we do things, but we still have quail, and where we do the work, we are seeing results. And so, look, I guess the take-home message: if you're a private landowner out there and you want to make things more conducive to quail and other migratory birds, songbirds that migrate through that benefit from the same habitat, we can help. Contact our private lands division, and they can get you helped out there. And again, man, these public land opportunities are the proof in the pudding that what we're doing is really starting to take hold, and we're seeing some positive trends in quail numbers in Arkansas.
Man, that's what it's all about. Yeah, it may never get back to what it was, but at least we're making progress, right? And that's
absolutely. We have stopped that slide to the quail we're on. I think it's safe to say that for sure.
Conservation's a long game, but my goodness, it sure is important, isn't it?
Oh man, I mean, that's why the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission exists, and that's it a long game. There's the old proverb that the conservation is planting a tree under which you'll never enjoy the shade of that tree.
Yeah.
You'll never sit under its shade. So that's a good way to put it. But again, these quail opportunities are show you that when you do the work and then you see the results, it's very gratifying. And again, like you said, it shows that's why we do what we do.
And I'm reminded of something we've talked a lot about here in the past is this, while is early in the success story, as it will inevitably be written, it's not the first in Game and Fish's history in Arkansas. Think about the bears. We were the bear state, and then there were virtually no bears. But my goodness, you guys have done such a good job that we not only hunt bears, we hunt bears in South Arkansas, of all places, as of the last few years.
Yeah, no, the bear, restoration in Arkansas, which took place essentially throughout the 1960s, from about 58 to 70. It's considered one of the largest species introductions in the history of wildlife management in North America. But really beyond that, Scott, you look across the board. I mean, in the I think 1939 there were 150 deer check, 300 deer or something. I mean, just minuscule compared to what we're doing now, 200,000 a year. So white-tailed deer, eastern wild turkeys, and so many non-game species of both fish and wildlife that we've been able to conserve, bolster their populations, bring them back to, again, all those animals we just discussed, huntable populations now. When we, didn't have seasons or very poor seasons, where we did have seasons, through early and mid 20th century for a lot of those critters.
It's not easy, doesn't happen quick, but it is important. Let's switch gears here. We do have a little bit of time to get some Christmas shopping done while you're applying for those quail permits and those W. Rice permits. There's also going to be another opportunity to add something to your cart. This is something that I think is a wonderful gift for a wide array of folks. Trey, tell us about that literature, if you will, you guys have published.
Yeah, Scott, we had a book come out this summer, River to Ridge. It is... how do I describe it? I mean, it's so much, but it's a field guide, but it's much, much more than that. It is essentially a literary tour, if you will, of about 100 of our Arkansas Game and Fish Commission wildlife management areas. Some of the more popular, larger areas. We have a few parcels that are very isolated or small, and we didn't give them the full treatment. But, so the book is divided by ecoregions of the state, from the Ozark Plateau, the Boston Mountains, Crowley's Ridge, the Delta, the Coastal Plain, the Ouachitas. So within those sections, then you have our double wildlife management areas. And then, but it's sometimes the stories about how these areas came to be are included, like where the money came from to buy it, or like how Game and Fish acquired the property originally, but also other opportunities nearby, a state park that's in the area, a Corps of Engineer recreation area, a U.S. Forest Service property or campground. So many. Look, if you like to hunt, fish, you're a bird watcher, you like to hike, you like to paddle, no matter if you like to mountain bike, whatever it is, anything you like to do outdoors, I promise you this is a book that you are going to enjoy and want to add to your collection of field guides and instructional manuals that tell you, different opportunities that are out there. It's a great book. Look, it's $20 if you buy it from a Game and Fish office, and that includes in Northwest Arkansas in the River Valley, the Janet Huckabee Arkansas River Valley Nature Center in Fort Smith, and the J.B. and John L. Hunt Family Ozark Highlands Nature Center there in Springdale. A couple of retail outlets in Northwest Arkansas that have agreed to carry the book for us: Pack Rat Outdoors in Fayetteville, as well as Two Friends Bookstore in Bentonville. Now, Scott, you mentioned something key there. If you're going to apply for one of these permits we've been talking about, or you're, updating, renewing your license, you can buy it right there through the agfc.com license portal or through the AGFC app. Now, it will cost you a little bit extra, $27 if you buy it through the website or the app, and that's because the book weighs over 3 pounds. We say it weighs as much as a slab crappie, or more than a slab crappie. So there's a little bit of postage involved there. So we're not trying to gouge you, but it's a pretty substantial book and costs a little bit to ship. So stop by again if you want to avoid that. Come by one of the nature centers I mentioned, or one of those bookstores, or if you're down in Little Rock, stop by our headquarters and we'll sell you a copy.
The book might be heavy, but it is some light reading, if you will. That'll do it, because that was probably the cheesiest thing I've said all week long. That'll do it for this edition of 5 Outdoors. We appreciate Trey, all the work happening there at Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. We'll see you back here next week on 5 News Plus with more 5 Outdoors.